turuan din natin ang mga bata ng tamang paghugas ng mga kamay. Basain ang kamay ng tubig at lagyan ng sabon. Kuskusin ang iyong mga palad. Gayon din ang pagitan ng mga daliri. Pati na ang likod ng mga palad at daliri. Ganon din ang iyong hinalaki, kasama ang mga dulo ng iyong mga daliri. Pagkatapos ay iyong palapulsuhan. Gawin ito ng kahit 20 segundo. Pagkatapos ay banlawan ng tubig at patuyuin.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles. We're moving to the next stage of the pandemic, and as the world resets to the new normal, we find ourselves seeking the right balance between health and livelihood, constantly adjusting the boundaries between liberty and responsibility. Here are tonight's news. First, China's capital city raced Monday to control a fresh coronavirus outbreak, with 79 cases linked to a single wholesale food market in Beijing, where authorities have locked down neighborhoods and launched a massive test and trace program. The outbreak in China, where the disease first emerged last year, had largely been brought under control until a fresh batch of cases was detected in the capital last week. City official Li Junji said at a press conference that cases had also been found at the Yuguandong wholesale market in the capital's northwestern Haidian district, and at least one of the people infected there had a connection to Xinfadi.
全市核酸检测机构共检测76499人，结果阳性59份，其中地坛医院已在院的病例27份，新增确诊病例21份，有待诊断的阳性检测11份。
6月13日8时起，暂时关停玉泉东交易市场，开展环境消杀，完成对市场内所有人员、市场内外环境采样检测工作。
As an update, health officials reported 49 new coronavirus cases nationwide on Monday, including 36 more in Beijing, where a cluster linked to the Xinfadi market in the south of the city has fueled fears of a second wave of infections. He said as a result, Yuguandong had been closed as well, and nearby schools would be shut, while people living in 10 housing estates around it would be forbidden from leaving their houses or their homes. Multiple residential compounds on the same block had been sealed off, and residents were seen receiving parcels from delivery drivers through gates. It wasn't immediately clear how many households were under the new lockdowns, but the orders will affect thousands of people. Officials also said Monday some close contacts of cases linked to the market would have to wear smart thermometers to monitor their body temperatures, while others had been sent to centralized quarantine facilities. The capital has begun mass testing workers from the two markets, as well as those who live nearby and anyone who visited in recent weeks. Meanwhile, a raft of EU nations reopened their borders to fellow Europeans on Monday after months of coronavirus curbs. As caseloads have declined in recent weeks across many parts of Europe, governments have been keen to ease painful lockdowns that have saved lives but devastated economies and worried confined populations. Belgium, France, Germany, Greece, and Ukraine were among those lifting border restrictions on Monday, while shops and outdoor attractions in England were set to welcome their first customers since March, and in Paris, cafes and restaurants were allowed to fully reopen.
The government has very good control. Very few people got infected, and I feel very, very safe in here. And that's why I choose to, travel to Santorini. And next week I'm going to Crete. No problem for me to worry about the virus.
In line with the EU's plans to reopen borders in the bloc by mid-June, Belgium, France, and Greece are lifting restrictions on Monday for travel within Europe. Paris, however, has specified it wants reciprocity and so may impose restrictions on those countries blocking travelers from France. Greece, on the other hand, has gone further, also allowing travelers from farther afield, such as Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, China, Israel, and Lebanon. Germany is also due to end land border checks on June 15, while the Dutch government has announced it would ease warnings against non-essential foreign travel from the same date. Austria, which has already opened its borders to most of its neighbors, will on June 16 lift travel restrictions with a total of 31 countries, but has excluded Portugal, Spain, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, entry by air is prohibited to citizens coming from countries outside the Schengen area. The Czech Republic is also allowing free travel with a number of European countries from Monday, but restrictions are still in place with those deemed a risk due to their levels of coronavirus infections. Despite fears over fresh clusters, many countries are making moves towards semi-normality. In Paris, restaurant and cafe owners were cheering after the government said they could once again open their dining rooms 3 months after being shut to blunt the coronavirus outbreak. Take a look.
Alors vous voyez, il n'y a pas de ménage, par exemple. Ce qu'on appelle les ménages, salières, poivrières. Il y a des choses un petit peu comme sur des aires d'autoroute, voyez-vous. Ça, c'est des choses où il va falloir s'habituer. J'espère qu'on sortira vite de cette situation pour redonner de la magie à nos restaurants. Et puis, bien sûr, les gens de l'accueil, que ce soit directeur de restaurant, maître d'hôtel, chef de rang, serveur, il va falloir qu'ils fassent un travail extraordinaire parce que, comme vous le savez, ils seront masqués. Et il faudra leur demander aux gens qui rentreront de passer le gel hydroalcoolique et d'aller masquer à leur table. C'est-à-dire que les gens enlèvent leur masque quand ils passent à table. Plus suivre le fléchage, il y a du fléchage au sol. Bref, il va falloir enlever le côté anxiogène et aussi le côté officine hospitalière pour rester un restaurant.
Tu mets 2 micros.
Oui. Allô? Oui.
Until
Bonjour, comment
now,
ça va? Qui est à l'appareil?
until now, restaurants in and around the capital could only serve clients on outdoor terraces, even though eateries in the rest of the country opened fully earlier this month. The sooner-than-expected reopening for the Paris region was announced by President Emmanuel Macron late Sunday, shortly before officials reported just 9 COVID-19 deaths in the previous 24 hours, the lowest figure since March. Manigault made headlines last month after successfully suing his insurer, the French giant AXA, to pay around 70,000 euros in compensation for the lost business. Insurers have argued that most contracts do not cover nationwide administrative shutdowns, but restaurants say their livelihoods are on the line and have called on the government to intervene. Even in the rest of France, where restaurants were allowed to fully reopen on May 11, owners have had to remove tables to ensure at least 1 meter or 3.3 feet between diners. Didier Chenet, head of the GNI Association of Independent Hotel and Restaurant Owners, estimates the social distancing rules have cut capacity by at least half. Meanwhile, Norway's health authority said they had suspended an app designed to help trace the spread of the new coronavirus after the National Data Protection Agency said it was too invasive of privacy. Launched in April, the smartphone app SmithStop or Infection Stop was set up to collect movement data to help authorities trace the spread of COVID-19 and inform users if they had been exposed to someone carrying the novel coronavirus. On Friday, the data agency, Datatilsynet, issued a warning that it would stop the Norwegian Institute of Public Health from handling data collected via SmithStop. Datatilsynet said the limited spread of coronavirus in Norway, as well as the app's limited effectiveness due to the small number of people actually using it, meant the invasion of privacy resulting from its use was disproportionate. Camilla Stoltenberg, the Public Health Institute's director, said she didn't agree with that assessment, but that the institute would now delete all the app's data and suspend its work. Some 600,000 of Norway's 5.4 million inhabitants had been using the app. Developed in Norway and downloadable on a voluntary basis, the application used centralized data storage as is planned in France and the UK. Norway, where the coronavirus deaths totaled 242 as of last week, is now seeing only a handful of new infection cases a day. Meanwhile, various stores and outdoor attractions in England are set to open Monday for the first time in nearly 3 months as the government continues to ease its coronavirus lockdown. Thousands of non-essential retailers such as bookstores and electronics outlets hope to welcome their first customers since halting in-store business in late March. Leisure sites such as drive-in cinemas, safari parks, and the outdoor parts of zoos will now be able to reopen, while places of worship are also set to swing open their doors again for individual prayer. All sites will need to comply with social distancing rules, requiring people to keep at least 6 feet apart and advising them to wear face coverings such as masks or scarves when indoors. Meanwhile, the coverings will be compulsory on public transport across England from Monday, with operators allowed to bar travel to those not wearing them. In Scotland, First Minister Nicola Sturgeon remains optimistic that the country or that Scotland can enter phase 2 of the lockdown easing, which will again loosen some of the guidelines, allowing pub outside areas to open up and some families to meet indoors. Joining us live from Scotland is Caroline Kennedy. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, Alma.
Hi. So, more loosening of coronavirus lockdown measures?
Yes. That's really good news for us over here. So our update on the coronavirus in Scotland is that Nicola Sturgeon has said that carrying out on within cautious approach to the coronavirus could see the return to normality sooner than we have expected, as one more death was registered. According to Scotland Live, our First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, said that even though the number of cases and deaths in hospitals and ICU admissions reported every day are falling, caution should be exercised in order for the lockdown measures to not be reimposed. As of Thursday last week, our First Minister our First Minister Nicola Sturgeon is also expected to announce a move to the second phase of the route map, which will lead us out of lockdown. She has also warned us that not all the elements of phase 2 will kick in straight away, but she has been able to provide the date of retailers that could be opening up soon. She has also said that evidence suggests that the careful approach we have adopted so far is working. The lesson that I take from that is that we should stick to what the plan is and not to discard it. Because, and this is of course the much harder bit, while transmission of the virus is much reduced, the virus still hasn't gone away yet. 2,448 deaths have now been recorded in Scotland of people who have been tested positive for COVID-19. Back to you, Alma.
Okay, so Caroline, what are the likely changes that we could see happen after the next lockdown review on Thursday?
Yes, so according to the Scotsman News, to move to phase 2, the virus must be under control with the R rate of infection consistently below 1 or has sustained decline of infectious cases. When the criteria have been met, there are changes that could be made after the next lockdown review, and that could include the following, such as being able to see family and friends and going out to drive locally for leisure and exercise. Non-essential indoor, non-office-based workplaces will be allowed to resume, including factories, warehouses, labs, and research facilities. A small retail unit may be allowed to reopen up with physical distancing in place along with outdoor markets. Pubs and restaurants may also be able to open up their outdoor spaces with social distancing and the increased amount of hygiene routines. Playgrounds and sport courts can also be able to physically be open while maintaining social distancing, along with restarting of professional sport in line of the public health advice. Registering offices will be open for high priority tasks and place of worship. Will also be able to open for private prayer with physical distancing and hygiene safeguards. Marriages, civil partnerships, and other types of ceremonies will also be allowed to pick back up with limited places of numbers of attendees. Back to you, Alma.
All right, thank you very much, Caroline, and we look forward to hearing more news from Scotland.
Thank you for having me, Alma. Reporting from Scotland, I'm Caroline Kennedy, and we live in interesting times.
Eagle News, we'll be right back.
Noon hanggang ngayon, gabay natin ang MTRCB ratings sa matalino at responsableng panonood. Sa tamang pagsunod sa MTRCB ratings, ginagawa nating ligtas at makabuluhan ang panonood ng bawat miyembro ng pamilyang Pilipino. Lumipas man ang panahon, hanggang may pamilyang Pilipino, andyan ang MTRCB.
Going now to Spain, Madrid is currently in phase 2 since June 8th. Let's find out how they're coping at this phase. Catherine Ferrer Arceo from our EBC Madrid Bureau reports.
Spain is moving from phases. Half of Spain's autonomous communities are moving to phase 3, while the other half move to phase 2. Let's see what are the new normality in Spain.
Social meetings of 15 people. Physical activities. Walk. Opening of malls, restaurants, and bars are some of the new measures at phase 2.
Hello, good afternoon from Bilbao, Spain. Nasa fase 2 na po kami. Actually, para sa akin, sa opinion ko, okay naman siya na makasama yung family. Lalong-lalo na tayong OFW, yung mga kaibigan natin, sila na yung pinakapamilya natin dito. So nakikita nyo naman, nag-iihaw-ihaw na kami. Nandun yung kids, andyan yung mga taga dito. Pero more on, ingat pa rin, doble ingat pa rin tayo kasi hindi biro yung COVID-19 na nangyayari. Tsaka sama-sama tayong mag-pray para sana tuloy-tuloy na hanggang matapos siya. Yun lang, good luck sa lahat.
Nakatanggap ako ng tawag mula sa aking boss na pwede na daw po akong bumalik sa aking trabaho. Ngunit bago ako bumalik sa aking trabaho, kailangan muna daw akong magpa-test. Sapagkat kailangang malaman at matiyak kung ikaw ay fit to work na. At ito ay paraan din para maprotektahan at maingatan ang bawat isa sa trabaho. At ang screening and testing can help to reduce transmission disease and fears of workers. Sa parang ito, pag ikaw ay nakapagpa-test at naging magandang resulta, magiging kampante ka sa pagtatrabaho at sa mga kasama mo sa trabaho.
Me siento extraño y feliz por volver a salir a la calle.
Here are some of the measures such as maintaining social distance, wearing masks and hand washing remains mandatory.
Despite being more free in the new measures, we must remain responsible and continue to comply with the rules. Reporting from Madrid, Spain, I am Caterina Arceo. We live in interesting times.
To other news now, a Manila court on Monday has found Rappler Executive Editor and Chief Executive Officer Maria Ressa and writer Reynaldo Santos Jr. guilty of cyber libel. Ressa's associate, Ray Santos Jr., wrote a story back in 2012 alleging that a former Chief Justice maintained close ties with businessmen, including Wilfredo Keng. In 2017, Keng filed charges against Ressa and Santos Jr., disputing an intelligence report quoted in the article that linked him to drug trafficking activities. In an earlier statement, Keng said he filed a case to vindicate his name in court and allow Rappler to show the truth of basis of their defamatory report. However, Keng said Ressa and Santos didn't even attend to testify in the hearings, while he said, "I personally testified in the hearings because, quote, I believe I am telling the truth." Keng said he even reached out to the news organization and asked them to air his side of the story in accordance with the ethics of their profession as journalists for close to 7 months. Keng, through his lawyer, Attorney De Vera, negotiated with Rappler, which culminated in the preparation of a clarificatory article by one of the writers. Yet again, both accused did nothing. He also slammed Ressa's claim that the case is a suppression of press freedom. Manila Regional Trial Court Branch 46 Judge Reynelda Estacio Montesa sentenced the two to imprisonment ranging from 6 months and 1 day to 6 years. Defense counsel Theodore Te, in a press briefing after the promulgation, said they are studying their options, including possibly appealing the case to the Court of Appeals.
Dahil nakamaskara po. And the judgment is a judgment of conviction for both Maria and Ray, but the court exonerated Rappler as a corporate entity. The judgment is for cyber libel, and the sentence of imprisonment is from 6 months and 1 day to 6 years of imprisonment. On our motion, with no objection from the prosecution, the court allowed Maria and Ray to remain free on bail, using the same bail that they previously posted. Obviously, legal steps forward would include questioning the decision and the appropriate proceeding, whether a motion for reconsideration or an appeal. We have 15 days from today to make that decision.
Taken alone, I think the decision for me is devastating because it essentially says that Rappler, that we are wrong. I think that's, you can look at the body of evidence that is there and see, taken in the context of everything that has happened to us, the fact that the case, I now still face 7 criminal charges. It's not unexpected. And at the same time, again, I feel like we will keep fighting. I think this is a blow. It's a blow to us, but it's also not unexpected considering that we are going to stand up against any kind of attacks against press freedom. Freedom of the press is the foundation of every single right you have as a Filipino citizen. Next year will be my 35th year as a journalist. I began as a reporter in 1986, and I have worked in so many countries around the world. I've been shot at and threatened, but never this kind of death by 1,000 cuts.
The right to free speech and freedom of the press cannot and should not be used as a shield against accountability. This is according to the Manila Regional Trial Court, Branch 46, which handed down a guilty verdict for cyber libel against Rapplers Maria Ressa and former researcher Reynaldo Santos Jr. The cyber libel complaint was in connection with a story on businessman Wilfredo Keng published by the media organization in 2012 and republished in 2014. In the story, Rappler alleged Keng was linked to human trafficking and smuggling activities, citing what it said was an intelligence report. Keng has vehemently denied the allegations. The suit was filed by Keng after he was named by Rappler as the owner of a sports utility vehicle used by the late Chief Justice Renato Corona, who had been subjected to impeachment proceedings in 2012. In an earlier statement, Keng said he filed the case to vindicate his name in court and allow Rappler to show the truth or basis of their defamatory report. However, Keng said Ressa and Santos didn't even attend to testify in the hearings, while he said he personally testified in the hearings because he believed he's telling the truth. According to the 37-page ruling by Judge Reynelda Estacio Montesa, if a person is found violating this law in accordance with the parameters it provides, then he or she is penalized and will be held accountable. If a private individual, a netizen, can be held accountable for any defamatory posts or comments in the internet, the court said, so too must accountability and journalistic responsibility be brought to bear upon online news organizations, since the extent of its influence as powered by the internet goes beyond the physical limitation of printed publications. Here, Rappler and both accused did not offer a scintilla of proof that they verified the imputations of various crimes in the disputed article upon the person of Keng, apart from a weeping and unexplained reference to a purported intelligence report and a 2002 Philippine Star report. Okay, so we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.
Welcome back. The right to free speech and freedom of the press cannot and should not be used as a shield against accountability. Take a look. Now, this is according to the Manila Regional Trial Court Branch 46, which handed down a guilty verdict for cyber libel against Rappler's Maria Ressa and former researcher Reynaldo Santos Jr. The cyber libel complaint was in connection with a story on businessman Wilfredo Keng, published by the media organization in 2012 and republished in 2014. In the story, Rappler alleged Keng was linked to human trafficking and smuggling activities, citing that what it said was an intelligence report. Now, Keng has vehemently denied the allegations. The suit was filed by Keng after he was named by Rappler as the owner of a sports utility vehicle used by the late Chief Justice Renato Corona, who had been subjected to impeachment proceedings back in 2012. In an earlier statement, Keng said he filed a case to vindicate his name in court and allow Rappler to show the truth of basis of their defamatory report. However, Keng said Ressa and Santos didn't even attend to testify in the hearings, while he personally testified in the hearings because he said he believed he is telling the truth. According to the 37-page ruling by Judge Reynelda Estacio Montesa, if a person is found violating this law in accordance with the parameters it provides, then he or she is penalized and will be held accountable. If a private individual, a netizen, can be held accountable for any defamatory posts or comments in the internet, the court said so too must accountability and journalistic responsibility be brought to bear upon online news organizations, since the extent of its influence as powered by the internet goes beyond the physical limitation or printed publications. Here, Rappler and both accused didn't offer a scintilla of proof that they verified the imputations of various crimes in the disputed article upon the person of Keng, apart from a weeping and unexplained reference to a purported intelligence report and a 2002 Philippine Star report. They did not verify the veracity of these allegations at all, the court said, noting that Keng had even pleaded for the media organization to air his side of the story, but to no avail. Ressa and Santos were sentenced to an indeterminate penalty of imprisonment ranging from 6 months and 1 day of prison correctional as minimum to 6 years of prison correctional as maximum. They were also ordered to pay jointly and severally 200,000 pesos in moral damages and 200,000 pesos in exemplary damages to Keng, noting that the fact that there was no allegation of damages in the information is of no legal consequence. The court found Rappler had no corporate liability under the Section 9 of the Cyber Libel Law. The court also noted the amicus curiae brief filed by UN Special Rapporteur on the promotion and protection of the right to freedom of opinion and expression, David Kaye. An amicus curiae is someone who is not a party to a case who assists a court by offering information, expertise, or insight that has a bearing on the issues in the case. Meanwhile, saying President Duterte values press freedom, Malacanang said the decision of the Manila Regional Trial Court to convict Rappler CEO Maria Ressa and former researcher writer Ray Santos Jr. of cyber libel should be respected. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said despite Ressa and Santos's guilty verdict, President Duterte never filed a libel complaint against journalists publishing critical reports about him. He also said President Duterte believes that government officials should not be onion-skinned and instead must face up to criticism, especially from the media. Let's listen in.
Ng kahit anong kasong libel laban sa kahit kaninong nabubuwisit siyang mga periodista. Naniniwala po siya sa malayang pag-iisip at pananalita, at ang paninindigan niya, ang taong gobyerno hindi dapat onion skin, no? Kinakailangan hinaharap ang pula ng taong bayan. Lalo na kung ito'y nanggagaling sa ating media. Hindi lang po nagtatapos doon ang paninindigan ng ating presidente na hindi po siya nagfa-file ng kahit anong libel case sa kanyang karera bilang mayor, vice mayor at presidente. Noong 2001 po, meron pong isang Davao-based na periodista, si Alexander Adonis, na napatunayang nagkasala para sa libel at kinulong po sa Davao Penal Colony. Si Adonis po ay nakulong dahil di umano, siya po ay isang broadcaster na ibinroadcast yung tinatawag na burlesking incident na kinasasangkutan ni dating Speaker Nograles. Alam niyo naman, matinding katunggali sa politika ni then Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte, si then Speaker Nograles. Ano pong nangyari? Matapos pong nakulong si Adonis, patuloy pong nagbigay ng suporta ang presidente kay Alexander Adonis at nagbigay rin po siya ng material support dahil ang ginawa po ni Alexander Adonis, nagpunta po siya sa UN Human Rights Committee kung saan sinabi niya na yung criminal libel sa Pilipinas ay labag po sa karapatan ng malayang pananalita. Dahil po sa paninindigan ni Alexander Adonis at dahil na rin sa material support ni then City Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte, nanalo po si Alexander Adonis. Ano pong desisyon ng Human Rights Committee? Sabi po ng Human Rights Committee na ang criminal libel sa Pilipinas ay contrary o labag sa karapatan ng malayang pananalita. Bakit? Dahil ang sabi po ng Human Rights Committee, hindi po proportional ang pagkakakulong bilang parusa sa libel. Meron naman daw pong civil damages na po pwedeng i-award, hindi po dapat pagkakakulong. At pangalawa po, meron nga pong alternatibo dahil hindi kinakailangang kriminal ang libel kung hindi dapat maging civil. Yan po ang Alexander Adonis versus Republic of the Philippines, sinuportahan ni ngayong Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Hindi po dyan nagtapos ang kwento ni Alexander Adonis. Ginawa rin po natin siyang partido doon sa kaso laban sa cyber libel. Kung matatandaan niyo po, kasama namin sa Alexander Adonis na naghain ng petisyon para questionin ang constitutionality ng cyber libel. Hindi po administrasyon ni Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte ang nagsulong ng Cyber Libel Act. Administrasyon po ni Presidente Noynoy Aquino. Sa masawing palad, bagamat ang sinabi po ni Alexander Adonis na kinakailangan ipatupad ng ating Kongreso ang rekomendasyon ng Human Rights Committee na dapat i-decriminalize ang libel sa Pilipinas, ano po ang sabi ng ating Korte Suprema dito sa kaso ng Roque versus Executive Secretary? Ang sabi po nila, well, hindi naman daw po sinabi ng Human Rights Committee na dapat talagang gawing illegal ang criminal libel. Ang suhestyon ay ibinigay na i-decriminalize daw at dahil ito ay isang suhestyon lamang, hindi binding sa Pilipinas ang naging recommendation ng UN Human Rights Committee. At sinabi rin ng hukuman, and I quote, libel is not a constitutionally protected speech and that the government has an obligation to protect private individuals from defamation. Ano naman pong ibig sabihin o anong relasyon nitong Adonis versus Republic of the Philippines at Roque versus Executive Secretary? Nagpapatunay po na hindi po presidente ang nasa likod sa panunupil di umano ng kalayaan ng malayang pananalita at pamamahayag. Yan po ay desisyon ng ating Korte Suprema sa panahon pa ni Presidente Noynoy Aquino at sa katunayan, dahil ang presidente ay hindi minsan man lang nagsampa ng libel case laban kahit kaninong periodista at siya po ay sumuporta pa kay Alexander Adonis nung siya nakakuha ng communication sa Human Rights Committee na ang libel ay labag sa karapatan ng malayang pamamahayag, suportado po ni Presidente ang malayang pananalita at malayang pamamahayag. Sana po malinaw yan. Alam naman po ni Binibining Maria Ressa itong kaso ni Adonis versus Republic of the Philippines at alam din niya itong kaso natin laban sa cyber libel. Pero sasabihin ko po sa kauna-unahang pagkakataon na yung sinampa naman po namin yung libel yung challenge laban sa criminal libel, hindi naman po kami sinuportahan ni Binibining Maria Ressa.
To other news now, the fatal shooting of a black man by a white police officer in Atlanta has poured more fuel on the raging U.S. debate over racism, prompting another round of street protests and the resignation of the southern city's police chief. Take a look. Was ruled a homicide The death of 27-year-old Rayshard Brooks was ruled a homicide by the County Medical Examiner's Office on Sunday, a day after the Wendy's restaurant where he died was set on fire and hundreds of people marched to denounce the killing. Friday's incident began when police responded to a complaint that Brooks was asleep in his car and blocking the drive-in lane at the Wendy's. Now, Brooks allegedly failed a sobriety test administered by police, and when the officers tried to arrest him, a struggle broke out. Video of the incident circulating on the social media showed two white police officers wrestling Brooks to the ground in the parking lot. One of them attempts to use a taser on Brooks, who managed to grab the stun gun, and then he ran away, according to video images that you will later see. Now, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, or GBI, which probes police-involved killings, also released restaurant surveillance video that showed Brooks turn and appear to fire the taser at the officers. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation Director Vic Reynolds told reporters that an officer reached for his service weapon, and as Brooks turned back, the weapon goes off. Now, Brooks was taken to the hospital, but he died after surgery, according to the GBI, adding that one officer was injured. Now, the police chief in the U.S. city of Atlanta resigned after the new killing, injecting fresh anger into protests against racism and police brutality. Images on local media showed hundreds of protesters in the streets on Saturday and flames engulfing this Wendy's restaurant where the 27-year-old Rayshard Brooks was killed. The officer who shot Brooks was dismissed on Saturday and identified by Atlanta police as Garrett Rolfe. The second officer was placed on administrative duty, according to ABC News. In televised comments made earlier in the day, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms said that Shields, with more than 2 decades of experience in the force, has offered to immediately step aside as police chief. Demonstrators were out on the streets before night fell on Saturday, with one group blocking a highway near the Wendy's restaurant and facing off with police. Dozens of protesters were arrested, according to CNN, and quoting the Atlanta police as saying, "The unrest comes as the U.S. faces a historic reckoning on systemic racism, with mass civil unrest ignited by the May 25 killing of another African-American man, George Floyd, while in police custody." In other news, the United States expressed outrage over a Russian court's conviction of American Paul Whelan on espionage charges, saying he was deprived of a fair trial. Whelan, a former Marine arrested in December 2018, was sentenced Monday to 16 years of hard labor after being found guilty of receiving classified information. The United States is outraged by the decision of a Russian court today to convict U.S. citizen Paul Whelan after a secret trial with secret evidence and without appropriate allowances for defense witnesses. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said in a statement, a Russian court on Monday sentenced former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan to 16 years in a penal colony for espionage in a case that strained ties with Washington and fueled speculation of a prisoner swap. Moscow City Court found Whelan guilty of receiving classified information as he stood in the dock with a sign that read "Sham Trial" and pleaded for U.S. President Donald Trump to intervene in the case. The court process is slimy, greasy Russian politics, nothing more, nothing less, Whelan said. Whelan, 50, has been held in a Moscow jail since his arrest in December 2018, and his trial was held behind closed doors because of the accusations of seeking to obtain state secrets. Throughout the trial, he maintained his innocence, saying he was framed and comparing himself to the hapless comedy character Mr. Bean. He said Russia thought they caught James Bond on a spy mission. In reality, they abducted Mr. Bean on holiday. Whelan says he was detained on a visit to Moscow to attend a wedding when he took a USB drive from an acquaintance, thinking it contained holiday photographs. The prosecution had asked the judge to sentence Whelan to 18 years in a strict regime penal colony, just short of the 20 years maximum term for the charge. Malacanang on Monday welcomed Japan Credit Rating Agency's decision to upgrade its rating on the Philippines from BBB+ to A- with stable outlook amid fears of global economic downturn due to the pandemic. Take a look.
Abay, ang Japan Credit Rating Agency po, JCR, ay nagkaroon po ng upgrade sa credit rating ng Pilipinas to A- or one notch higher than BBB+. Ano pong ibig sabihin nito sa mga kay Juan de la Cruz? Ibig sabihin po nito, makakautang po tayo dahil naniniwala ang mga nagpapautang na tayo po ay magbabayad. At dahil mabuti nga po ang ating credit standing, ibig sabihin, mas mababa pong interest na mauutang natin. At yung uutangin natin, po pwede natin gamitin, hindi lang para sa ayuda, kundi para po sa ating mga responses sa COVID-19. This recognition by Japan's leading credit agency is an affirmation of the international community's faith in our economic strength and resilience amid the worst global downturn in nearly a century. We thank our economic team, lalong-lalo na po si Secretary Dominguez, for their initiatives, including reforms that helped us weather the pandemic and steer the economy towards the new normal.
And finally, in our news, Sony on Thursday gave the world the first look at its upcoming PlayStation 5, along with a glimpse at action-packed games being tailored for the next generation consoles. Take a look. The Japanese consumer electronics giant didn't reveal pricing or launch date for the PS5, which will take on a new Xbox Series X from Microsoft when the rival consoles hit the market later this year. Sony Interactive Entertainment chief Jim Ryan said the powerful hardware will offer richer and more beautiful content that will captivate your senses in ways you didn't think possible. Two versions of the PS5 were shown, one with a slot for game or video discs and another without for players who prefer to download titles via the internet. Ryan touted PS5 as Sony's most striking console design to date. And that's the news for tonight. Before we close, we leave you with a word of hope. At the end of the day, there remains so much more to be grateful for. See you again tomorrow evening. Good night. I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.